Morning, day 6. Overcast, hovering around 0 or -1. Had a little bit of wet snow or rain last night. I'm really hoping for colder weather to firm up this crust. There's my smoke plume coming out of the tent in the bush. Easy kick open of the water hole today. It was only skim ice. Look at that clear water. Little snowstorm blew in here. It's kind of wet snow. Wind is really howling. I think the ice fishing might be a little arduous today, just because of the wet snow. Might get soaked out there. It's really blowing too. I'm in an embayment here, but I just hiked it out there and it's howling. So I think I'll top up the water supply and pull out a book that I brought, do some reading, see if the storm abates a bit. You know, whether it's a winter trip or a summer canoe trip, when it's raining out or bad weather out, I really like to sit inside the tent or under the tarp and read. It's extra weight to carry reading material on a trip, but I get some of my best reading done on my trips. I find at home these days I'm too distracted by the computer and I don't sit down and read the type of books I like to read. So on this trip, I brought this book, Pike's Portage, Stories of a Distinguished Place, edited by Morton Asfeld and Bob Henderson. Had this for a few years, been meaning to read it. Pike's Portage is, I'm going to try to do this one-handed here, so you bear with me. Pike's Portage is at the east end of Great Slave Lake up in Canada's Northwest Territories. And it's the historic travel route to get out into the central Barrenlands of northern Canada. And I've never done the actual portage, but I'm going to read about it. However, I've been in the neighborhood. I've flown into McKay Lake here and paddled through Aylmer and Clinton Colin to the top end of Artillery. I've flown into Lac de Gras and paddled the copper mine to the ocean. I've flown into the headwaters of the Burnside River and paddled to the ocean at Bathurst Inlet. I've flown into the headwaters of the Dubois over here, paddled the Dubois River. I've flown into Rennie Vermette and paddled the Elk River and the Thelon River. And I did that all solo over the past 15 years or so. So I've paddled the waters of some of the big systems in the Barrenlands, but still barely scratched the surface with the amount of water that's still there. So I've been on the Upper Lockhart River, but I haven't seen the mouth where it comes into the Great Slave Lake. So this was a very historic linkage area before the age of the airplane, to get into the central Barrenlands. Just a close-up of the map here. So here's the east arm of the very eastern tip of Great Slave Lake, McLeod Bay, and the portage is here. Oh, sorry, I'll show the Lockhart River. So the Lockhart River, which is not paddleable, just too steep, too many falls and gorges, flows out of Artillery Lake right here and flows down into Great Slave Lake. So I've been up on Artillery Lake on the north end on a trip. So Pike's Portage bypassed this unnavigable, unpaddleable route and comes up through a chain of lakes here I hear it's pretty tough climb with a canoe on your back, but I'm going to read about it here. And goes through this chain of lakes and into the south end of Artillery. And once you're in Artillery, you can branch out to many different watersheds through relatively short Heideland portages. And there's various dog sled routes as well. This one goes out to the Thelon River Valley, which is where a lot of the trappers used to go in the old days for the Arctic white fox trapping bonanza when the population was booming and the demand for furs was really high. So, although the front cover is dog sledding, much of the history in here is going to be year-round, especially the paddling. And who knows, I might do Pike's Portage one day and link up Artillery Lake and Great Slave Lake. I've been up on the Barrens many times, like I said, and this sounds like a fascinating place. Well, I decided to go ice fishing on day 6, which is my last full day here before I have to leave tomorrow. The snowstorm has abated. It's still windy. Got my first line, my static line out there on a stick. Just thought I'd show you how thick the ice is here. I'm at the limit of what I can do with my auger without adding an extension bar, which I did not bring. And it was tough drilling. It's all soaking wet with slush water there. So not all of that is blue ice. A lot of it is layers of white ice with slush sandwiches in between. I was just about to give up fishing and I caught this beautiful lake trout. He's, I don't know, £1.5 maybe. Really good eater size. Third lake trout meal of the trip, just starting to be cooked. And as usual, I'm putting the pie plate oven lid on to contain the spitting oil. And this will also help it to bake because the fish is in the round, so to speak. I gutted it, pulled the head off, and cut it into 2 sections, and so it's about that thick. And it won't fry by itself very well, but with the pie plate, it forms an oven, and it's working really good. The first 2 lake trout I've done in it. This is the first time I tried this system baking fish in the bush, and it's working great. This is my bannock baking rig that has always worked, so I figure, hey, it worked for bannock, it'll work for fish. Microphone can probably pick up the sizzling oil. That would be flying all over the place here into the tent. And I don't want any oil on my sleeping bag or anything else, so this is working very, very well. Oh, there will be some oil that hits the top, rolls down, and will drip out on the stove. But it usually attenuates and starts to burn itself off the stove before it drips down. Evening of day 6. Just finished my meal of lake trout. Got the second course going on the stove. Check in with the temperature, if we can get a focus here. -7. That's a good temperature. It's cooled down since this morning. Snow is coming down. That's okay. Better than rain. I'm enjoying my last night here. And tomorrow, day 7, I gotta pack up and head home. It'll be interesting. We had a meltdown and then a refreeze, and the sod cloth, which is covered in snow here, melted and then refroze. So it could be interesting getting the sod cloth free of the ice. I have been frozen in before, and it took me about 2 hours or so to get the the tent out without ripping it. I hope I don't have to do that again. Yeah. 1 week solo in the boreal forest. I'm really liking it.